はい、こんばんは。本日もこちら、ザ・スタンリー・パラブレ・ウルトラ・デラックスの続きをやってまいります。で、ですね、ちょっと1週間前に配信した時もそうだったんですけど、まだちょっと喉の調子悪くてですね、すいません、喉飴舐めながら、実況させていただきますので、ちょっとお聞き苦しい点もありますが、ご容赦くださいませのと、で、実況するにあたって先ほどゲーム立ち上げたんですけど、ゲーム立ち上げたらですね、急に画面に待って待ってという表示があってちょっと怪しいんで一旦ここで止めてるんですけど、そっからやっていきましょうかね。始める前にちょっと一言いいですか？ゲームを起動した時に2回ともちゃんと統計を設定してくれてありがとうございます。立ち上げて最初に時間入れてくれって言われて、で、2回、入れたんですけど、いや、まあ入れながら、前回設定してるのになんでやねんって思ったのと、そんなん普通 Windows 側と連携するんちゃうんかとか思ったんですけど、まあはい、どういたしまして。ほとんどの人はこのステップを真剣に捉えないんです。彼らはただ12時00分のままにして切り上げてしまうんです。はーす。でも、あなたは実際に時計を合わせてくれましたし、私はそれに感謝しているんです。それってあなたがこの体験を大切にしてちゃんと注意を払ってくれてるってことだと思うんです。あなたが合わせた時間が正しいかどうか知る術はないですけどね。そうだ、こうしましょうよ。あなたは協力的ですし、どうせだったら次にこのゲームを起動して、この画面が表示されたら、あなたの一番好きな時間を設定してください。どうぞ、セットしたい時間を好きに選んで、正しい時間でなくても構いませんよ。あなたがちゃんと協力してくれたからですよ。よし、じゃあそろそろゲームに戻りましょうか。そんなん次ゲームやるときまでもう忘れてそうなんだけどな。ごめんなさい。ちょっと一個忘れてたことがあったんで、ちょっとだけ待ってもらっていいですか？ OK。で、なんだっけな。まあ普通にゲーム始めるんですけど、その前に、なんかレビュー見てたらちょっと気になる書き込みがあったんで、どこだっけ？これかな？レティクル、違うな。翻訳、違う、これだな。翻訳ラベルだな。うん。えーっと、台にしとくか。これで画面上の文章とかの翻訳もされるらしいんで、これでいきましょう。じゃあ、パラプレウルトラデラックス2回目いきましょう。ゲーム始める。前回はなんかなんだ、幽体離脱エンドみたいなのになったんですけど、
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
今回はどうでしょうかね。
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order.This is what employee
一回エンディング見ると完全に頭に戻るのか？
And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley.Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened. This complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked,Frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
あ、違う。違う。スキップできるんじゃねえわ。俺がミスってたわ。ウィンドウアクティブにしてなかった。さて行きましょうか。で、また前回と違うことしないのね。
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
意味あんのか
No
な
matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
もう前回の配信で自分が何やったか微妙に覚えてないんですけど、
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
やってないのは、階段の上り下りかな。道なりに進んでいくと階段で上行く下行くがあって、上に行くんですよね。上に行ったのか。で、下に行くをやってないんだよな。多分。あとは、右側の通路を通ってって、途中で左に合流するパターンもやってないけど、果たしてあれに意味があるのかっていうちょっと疑問はある。あとどうだろうな。前回エンディングだと、その魂幽体離脱エンドみたいになって、この天井の向こうから自分を眺めてるみたいな。で、ずっとスタンリーが動かずにここの扉の前で立ち尽くしてて、ナレーションが早く動いてくれよみたいなのを上から見てるみたいなエンディングだったんで、今試しにちょっと待ってみてるんですけど、ここは待ってても何もなさげだな。じゃあ一個ずつ潰していくか。じゃあとりあえず左通ってって、階段で上行く下行く。
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
上の階に、ここでずっと待ってたらなんか起きたりとかしないかな。帰ったりとかはできないのか。なんか実はアイテムがある。ここの部屋は特になんもなさげだな。こういう風に、ここ入ってないね。物置。
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
なんかないの？
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here.
セリフ用意されてるだけかな。
It was baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA.
なんかね、たまにあるじゃない。でもなんもない部屋でさ、ただぼーっとしてたいみたいな。
Are you really still in the broom closet? Standing around doing nothing? Why? Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused.
だよ、人間の行動一つ一つ全部に意味があると思うな。ねえ、たまに。
You do realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever. I never would have thought to mention it.
じゃあ最初から入れるようにしとくなや。こ こんなね、なん
Maybe
か
to you this is somehow its own branch
なん
of
か意味あ
path.
りげなさ
Maybe when you go talk about this with your friends, you'll say,
作りしといてさ
did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favorite. I hope your friends find this concerning.
まあ、セリフ尽きるまでツッコミが
Stanley was
切れ
fat
る
and
まで
ugly and really, really stupid. He probably only got the job because of a family connection. That's how stupid he is. That or with drug money. Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
何の話だ急にどうした
Well, I've come to a very definite conclusion about what's going on right now. You're dead.
は
You got to this broom closet, explored it a bit, and were just about to leave because there's nothing here when a physical malady of some sort shut down your central nervous system and you collapsed on the keyboard. Well, in a situation like this, the responsible thing is to alert someone nearby so as to ensure that your body is taken care of before it begins to decompose. Hello? Anyone who happens to be nearby? The person at this computer is dead. They have fallen prey to any number of your countless human physiological vulnerabilities. It's indicative of the long-term sustainability of your species. Please remove their corpse from the area and instruct another human to take their place, making sure they understand basic first-person video game mechanics and filling them in on the history of narrative tropes in video gaming, so that the irony and insightful commentary of this game is not lost on them. All right, when you've done that, just step out into the hallway.
そんなこと言われたら出たくないな出たくないけどさすがに終わったかなんもないか調べたりとかもないねだしナレーションももう終わっちゃったかなじゃあしょうがね出るか
Ah, second player. It's good to have you on board. I guarantee you can't do any worse than the person who came before you.
いやいやいや俺は同じ人物ですがもう一回戻ってみるか
You too? Unbelievable. I'm at the mercy of an entire species of invalids. Perhaps there's a monkey nearby you can hand the controls to. A fish? Fungus? Look, you can hammer out the details. I'm not particularly picky. I'll just be waiting for when you're ready to pick up the story again.
これで出たら3人目とか言われるのかなだって私は3人目だものダメかダメっぽそうだねしょうがねえな行くか
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked
さあここで
upstairs
す
to
な
his boss's office.
じゃあ下に行きましょう開かんない何これ怖っ怖えんだけどなんかちょいちょいホラー要素みたいに出てくるよななんで赤のランプって怖いんだろこんなに車
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange.
すげえな、メタの中のメタだな。
Describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd, and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a
なんか
dream.
ナレーションがあれかぶっちゃったりしたら嫌だなと思って待ってるんだけど、
believing that if
先
he's
進
asleep,
んじゃ
he
っていい
doesn't
の
have
か
to
な。
take responsibility for himself. Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay. Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
誰マリエラあれナレーションが
But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy, this much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
パンチゼロエンド。そして時は動き出す。ちょっと急なホラー展開だったな。ごめんなさい。
All of his co-workers were gone, What could it mean?
さて、あ
Stanley
と
decided
や
to
っ
go to
て
the
ないの
meeting
は
room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
新コンテンツ。そんなん言われたら行きたくなるやんけ。
Oh, new content? What does that mean? New content?
お前も知らんのかい。これ扉が閉めれない。なんだ、またちょっと怖い。なんか行く先々怖いのは何よ、これ。なんか遊園地みたいなの始まったが。
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable UltraDeluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable UltraDeluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable UltraDeluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable UltraDeluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new UltraDeluxe content.
そんなもう新コンテンツやっちゃっていいの？旧コンテンツ俺まだ全部終わってないんじゃないかな。わかんないけど。行くか、まあ、ちょっと以上行くか。エレベーター。
Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure. Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere? Oh, there we go. Right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable UltraDeluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if, Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley.
コンテンツちょうだいよ、スタンリー。何これだだっ広い空間に。
Alright, let's see. It's the jump circle?
新コンテンツ、ジャンプサークル。残りジャンプ36。A を押すとジャンプします。これ0になるまでやれ。しかもなんだろうな、この爽快感のなさとよ。なんかいかにも一般人でございって感じのジャンプしかできとらんが。5、4、3、2、まあいいや、やめと。いや、なんかせっかくカウントダウンだから、ちょっとなんか、あれかなと思ったけど、いいや。いや、なんでもないです。はい。もうできない。あれ、なんか、もしかしてあれかな、しちゃまずかったかな。実はこの先でジャンプ使うのがなんかあって、とかって。
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right?
もう次の回行くの？
Goodness, another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could counter 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh wait, there's more. Very good. Yes. I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is.
別にボリュームがありゃいいってもんでもねえからな。なんだソファー。何これ。下覗け。下は漆黒の闇だな。新コンテンツをお楽しみいただき誠にありがとうございます。
This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game, and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always.What do you say, friend?
強制的に戻させられたが、扉から見える風景は今までとだいぶ変わっちゃってるが、これはいつもの風景だね。写真の中に。どこに連れてこられたよ。
Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
行くか行かへんかってことか。まあ最初だし、言うこと聞いてやるか。初めてしゃがむを使ったな。拾えないのこれ。ここ落ちんの？何
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new UltraDeluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look.
すげえな、お前。ゲーム制作者の裏を書くとか。何これ。は？なんか急にファンタジーの趣で出てきましたが。
I call it the memory zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC.
なんか横道それたりとかはできないのか。ザ・メモリーゾーン。
You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013, when the
いや、覚え
game
とらんな。
originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the
何
waste.
これ。いや、思い出をたどる旅っていうほど多分俺まだその旧コンテンツ楽しんどらんがな、多分。やっぱ新コンテンツは後回しにすべきだったか？ちょっと早まったかもしれんな。これ本当に出てた記事なのかな？もう建物終わり？まあでも次の建物。でももう終わりじゃねえのこれ。なんか歌始まりましたけど。
Is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
なんだ急に過去の自分の絵の自画自賛みたいなのが始まったが。上がオリジナル。下はないこれ。メモリーズメンテナンス。ちょっと後回しな気がするな。大丈夫かこれ？なんか、俺まだやってないところのネタバレとか急に出てきたりしない？若干怖いんだが。もう帰れなくなっちゃった。
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone, to spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
なんだもしかしてさ、ジャンプ残してたら、ここでジャンプ使って向こう行けたとか？なんとかシリアスルーム？
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again.
いや、だって向こう行けないし。いや、行けないし、行ったけど。他行けるとこないよね。やっぱジャンプ残しとかなきゃいけなかったのかな？開かないでしょ。こっちが開いてる。
Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here?
お前も知らんのかい？お前が作ったんちゃうんか、ここ。なんか、急に荒廃した土地になりましたが？
Oh no. Oh God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
すんげえ、なんか、今までにもどんどん増してメタな。
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny? I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
まあいくら完璧や言うてもな、もう100人中100人に寛容される、受け入れられるゲームなんか無理でしょ。てか急に雨降ってきたし。
Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I?
Yeah.
You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. Well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did. But maybe it wasn't. Oh dear. What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks are my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered.
いやー、批判的な意見も残しておくのは偉いと思うけどね。
What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
なんだろう、すごい制作者の恨み節が、制作者の恨み節が。
And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people. And if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, and it goes something like this. The story and the choices or what have you, and
これ
therefore
あれだな、コンクラベだな。このナレーションが終わるまで待つのか、俺がスキップボタンを押すのかみたいなことだと思うんだけど。
So, now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet. No, until 245.
that the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say... the story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is.
いや、多分ね、このナレーション相当長いんだと思うんだよな。
At which time everything all at once. So now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet. No, no, until 245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years until just yesterday. Here.
Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. But if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a treatise, or maybe a manifesto. Well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your fingertips to go off. Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're... Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week.
お前と会話をしてた気はしないがな。一方的に話を聞かされてただけで。
Not a single person to speak with. And you'd think that that's just how it's always
Skip it.
Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time, I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year? Let me describe it for you. To begin with, there is only regret. There is only the turning wheel of missed opportunities.
Skip it. あ、もう押せない。ボタンも返ってこないね。さて、どんだけの時間戻ってきた。時計が止まってるね。止まってるし、ナレーションも聞こえなくなったし、もう押す以外の行動ができない。なんか非常ランプがちょっとペカペカしとるが。スキップ。何の音？何が鳴ってる？あれか？あれっぽいけどな。何もできないもんね。もう一回スキップするしかないか。いや、スキップするか、スキップ。
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much. First, he didn't entertain us. Now he went, shut up. It's the inconsistency. It's the lack of accountability.
The end is never the end, 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 is never the end.
怖い怖い怖い怖い。怖いよ。壊れちゃった。ナレーションくん壊れちゃった。これ、どうなんの？全然終わりが見えないんだが。おお、何が起きた？何が起きた？っていうか、何が起きたのかわかんないけど、よく主人公無事だったな。なんかどっかに穴が開いたりしてるわけじゃないのか。マジ何が起きたのよこれ。劣化で崩れたのか、なんか隕石的なものがなんか落ちてきたのか。ああ、相当年が経ってますね。あれ、草木が枯れちゃったけど。外で何が起きてんのか一切わかんないの怖えな。何の音だよ。マジ何が起きてんの外。ついにスイッチそのものが押せるまだ。もう押せなくなってない？っていうかエイムがないからわかんないんだけど。あ、外出れる。まあそんな感じになってんじゃねえかなとはちょっと思ってたけど。果てしない大地。とりあえず太陽に向かって歩いてみるか。どんだけ広く作ったのこのマップ。戻った。おっと、おう。
All of his co-workers were gone.
完全に戻ったな。
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
ちょっと一瞬待ってもらっていいですか。ですね、で、ちょっと待って。前回の配信を自分で見直して時に、やってない選択肢を念のためメモっといたんですよね。 どこにメモったっけ？はいはいはいはい。どうしようかな、時間。まあ、もうちょっとやるか。階段降りる降りないはさっきやりました。で、あとは、あれよ。メインストーリー普通に進めてって、なんだ。普通に進めてって、なんか上司の部屋から奥進んで、新進コンテンツ？いや、気になるけど、ちょっとね、一回新コンテンツ置いときたいんだよな。旧コンテンツ先やりたいよな。でさ、通常通りに進めてってね、行った先に、
Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
エスケープって書いてある横道にそれる通路があって、
Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
で、このまま進んでって、
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job.
これ基本的に画面にエイムのマークが出てる時以外はなんかクリックとかできないのかな。
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
こっち行くと、前回も見たマインドコントロールから抜け出しましたエンドになるんだけど、こっち行ってないのよね。
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
ネタバレ城之内シス。あんま遊戯王のこと知らないけど。スタンリーシス。
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
それでも俺は前に進むぜ。
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
おいは前に進むことしか知らん。うわ、下腹部キュンってなるやつ。すげえな。この高さ降りて、これが死因かと思ったら。
Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise. It reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
なんか逃げれそうだよな、これ。
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
えええちょっと待って、これツッコミどころが。
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
どこ
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
どこここなんか、なんかさっきも見たような展示室に来たが、オフィスレイアウト。この青写真ではゲーム開始時のオフィスの様子が見られます。これはスタンリーのオフィスから2つのドアまでの経路で、このゲームで設計された最初の部分です。開発の間中追加変更されましたが、核となるレイアウトは最初のものとほぼ同じです。はいはいはい。廊下。この冒頭部分でのテンポが重要で、この廊下を動かしたり変更したりして、プレイヤーが良いタイミングで2つのドアへたどり着くようにしています。2つのドア。この2つのドアというセットがかなり初期の段階でザ・スタンリー・パラブレのデザインの具体的なものの一つとなりました。この部屋を作ることでその延長線上にゲームの内容が現れ、この部屋がもたらす矛盾を探っていくことになります。すんげえメタな説明来てんな。飛ぶ棚。何飛ぶ棚って。ボタンの音。このゲームを通してボタンを押した時に使われたサウンドセレクション。各サウンドはシンセサイザーの音色とキーボードのストロークをミックスして作られています。このボタンよくわかんなかったね。オフィス。急にメイキングみたいなの始まったな。広くねここ。広くね。スタッフロール始まっちゃってますけど。見てないパターンのオフィスあるなこれ。地下。初期バージョンの地下の一部。さっきとちょっとデザイン違うのね。
Oh, I don't know. How about they're throwing a surprise party for him for all his
ナレー
buttons
ションアウトテイ
changed.
ク
Does that sound plausible to you?
2年間のゲーム開発中、およそ3回に分けてゲーム全体のセリフを録音しました。初期のリテイからのクリップです。
Well, try the other one then.
ナレーションの量すんごいもんね。よく撮ったよな、これ。ゲームのナレーション3回に分けて撮るってなかなかないんじゃない？あんまりよく分かってないけど その録音状況とかよく知らんけどな。交戦地帯。開発当初、私たちはスタンリーがエイリアンと戦場で戦うエンディングをデザインしました。このアクションゲームは自覚を持ち始め、ナレートと戦うことになるのです。私たちは作り始めです。これはこのゲームの塔に対し、冗談が過ぎるということに気づきました。さらにシューティング好きな人たちをからかっていると解釈する人もいました。だが、そういう意図はありませんでした。じゃあそれはボツになったってことウルトラデラックスの発表。2018年12月にバージョンゲームアワード発表。このゲームの延期と発表のために制作した動画のスクリーンショットです。じゃあここなんだ、もうそのウルトラデラックスもう考慮して作られてる部屋なのか。アパートメントタイマー。前バージョンでアパートのエンディングへつながる選択肢で電話に出るまでの時間が15秒与えられていました。電話に出ないと違うエンディングになります。前バージョンでは貨物リフト。で、ここどうしたらいいの？会議室。メンテナンスレイアウト。これは没案ってこと？没エンディング案。どうしたらいいのこれ。こんなバーあったっけ？初期バージョンのゼンディングとしてすらレンディングを描写したもの。結局カットされた。エスケープメニュー。長いことエスケープメニューからプレイヤーがリスタートしたとき、エンデッドだけのエンディングを採用していました。残念ながらそのことに気づいたプレイヤーはごくわずかしかおらず、みんなもどかしく思っていました。かわいそうに。そういうのは話聞くよね。なんか十何年の間、気づかれてないものがあってとか。ティザームービー。何も流れないけど。俺あんまりこのゲームのその開発の歴史みたいなのよく知らないけど、2013年にその一番最初のバージョンが出て、さっきなんて書いたっけ？ 2018 年のゲームアワードでウルトラデラックス発表。開発相当時間かかってんだね。どこ行ってない？どうしたらいいのこれ。これを見たよな。ナレーターのメール。募集はしたんだけど使われなかった。どうしたらいいのこれ。スタンリーのオフィス。ここだけなんかさ、音がすんな。何これ。ゲームデザインモックアップ。 なんか見てんの楽しいは楽しいんだけどさ。出口。昔は、いや、あのボタン上下あんのに、片っぽしか押せないなとは思ってたんだよな。フリーダムエンド。一通り回ったか？回ってないね。これ、これ見たな。じゃあ、出口行くか。無駄に複雑なんですけど、このミュージアム。
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
オン、オフ。今オンになってんね。スイッチオフ。
Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen.
あれ？
But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to
エスケープと終了を押す？
As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let time... エスケープキーを押せばよかったのかな？じゃ、どうだ？エスケープキー押したらなんか変わってたのかな今のところ。ちょっとじゃあ次はその辺試してみるか。はい。まあちょっといい時間なんで今日このぐらいにしときましょうかね。というわけで、まだちょっとね、やってないのがあるはずなんだよね。前回のプレイだけで言うんだったら、あと、なんだっけ、なんか、赤の扉入るか、青の扉入るかみたいな選択肢のところがどっかあって、そっち、片っぽしか入ってないとかもあるんで、そっちもやっていきたいのと、あと、ニューコンテンツだよね。あれは最後に取っときたいかなと思います。なんで、次回は、その辺をやっていこうかなと思いますので、またよろしくお願いします。はい。というわけで、ザ・スタンリー・パラブレでした。また次の配信でお会いしましょう。お疲れ様でした。